Welcome to the Tech Sales Funnels podcast, where we dive deep and answer the ultimate question: how did you hack into tech sales? Each week, we bring you inspiring stories, proven strategies, and insider tips from top performers who've cracked the code to break into tech sales and thrive. Whether you're just starting out, making a career pivot, or ready to level up, this is your go-to space for actionable advice and real-world success stories. Let's crack the code together, because hacking into tech sales isn't just a dream, it's your next move. Now with your host, the founder of Tech Sales Funnels and the tech sales hacker himself, Davison Da Silva.
All right, everyone, welcome again to the Tech Sales Funnels podcast. Today I have Jameel Rehman. I think that's how you say his last name. I'm totally bumpy here, maybe not. But I'm super excited to have him here in Dallas, Texas. He's all the way on the other side of the world. He's going to tell a little bit more about that. And we finally got time to get together for about 20, 30 minutes here. And I'm super excited to find out how he got into tech sales and his career in tech sales. So let me bring him to stage. Hello, brother. Jameel, how are you?
Good, brother. Good to meet you again. Good to actually catch up and, finally have this conversation, man.
I know we had to reschedule a couple of times, but I'm so grateful that you're here today and for this time together. So give us a little bit of your background and your like a high level. Who is Jameel? What are you currently doing, that kind of stuff, and so we can dive right into the question: how did you get into tech sales?
Yeah, sweet, man. So I'm a former 2x top 1% AE at two different companies, Telstra Enterprise, which was Australia's biggest B2B tech company, and then Cisco, global tech company. And I've now transitioned into coaching technology sales and teaching the fundamentals of what it means to be great and to become a high-performing tech sales AE through my business Tech Sales Academy. So basically, I've realized that there is no fundamental education for what we do in technology sales. Most organizations are relying on your assumed knowledge of sales, and they don't really train you very well. If you are in the industry, you would know that most tech sales training stinks and is incomplete and irrelevant to what you actually do. And I'm trying to fix that massive problem in the industry. So yeah, that's basically what I've been working on for a while. You've seen it, a bunch of my content and curriculum. It's very dense because essentially I'm creating like a technology sales PhD. And yeah, man, like that's the mission. Is like I'm good at selling, I'm good at teaching. I love coaching and teaching people, and that's just what I want to do.
That's awesome. I totally forgot to introduce that you are the founder, the owner of the Tech Sales Academy. That's how I found Jameel on LinkedIn. His content, his posts, everything's it's right on. He knows the stuff that he's talking about. A lot of people on LinkedIn, they just they can chat GPT stuff, they can copy and paste things, but whatever he's putting there, he knows what he's talking about. So you should definitely check him out. And if we have a little bit more time towards the end, he can actually talk a little bit more about that. So once you get into tech sales, he's the guy. You need to learn how. Basically, he'll teach you the way, right? The ropes and all the shortcuts and things you need to do to be successful. Tell us a little bit about how did you get into this world of tech sales, like your very first job in tech sales. Give us a little bit of a background, where you came from, and how did you hack into tech sales?
Yeah, man. Like a lot of us, particularly in the last decade, our generation of tech sellers, I fell into technology sales. Like no one really wakes up passionate about mobiles and, internet or SaaS, unless you are actually like a bit nerdy, and that's totally fine too. My absolute first job in technology sales was in consumer land. So I used to just work at a company called Coles Mobile, which is a supermarket that actually sold mobile phone plans and devices. And that was a terribly run thing. But then I realized I was actually good at selling tech. And then I worked for Telstra, which is basically the Verizon of Australia, right? Big tech, big B2C consumer tech company. So I was selling consumer plans and devices, home internet, just the stuff that you would walk into, like a Mint Mobile or whatever that, your normal telco. in the US, and basically worked my way up from there. So I was very good at B2C sales and just working with you, just regular everyday people. And then I recognized that, man, maybe I can do this as a career and get into B2B technology sales, because I started working my way up from dominating inside the consumer space. I was actually paid overtime, paid extra to go to other stores in the region and coach other salespeople on best practices in the cross sell and the upsell. And then I
Mm,
also went into the business side and started doing business plans and whatnot. So I just trickled my way into it. And once I finished my marketing degree, I was like, all right, let me give B2B tech sales a go, because I was absolutely dominating in consumer. Like in my last year in consumer sales, I was top salesperson of the month 7 out of 12 times, and I was a casual, right? I was a part timer, not a full timer, but I was beating everyone else pro rata for sales.
nice.
And then but when I made the jump from business to consumer, or consumer to business, it was a long fall down, because it's a completely different kettle of fish, right? It's a completely different situation. I knew
Mm,
nothing about enterprise technology. I knew nothing about B2B sales. I knew nothing about account management. I knew nothing, absolutely nothing, because there's nowhere to get all this information. There's nowhere to find this, especially when I started over 10 years ago, right?
mm,
Technology sales was a lot more niche than it is now. Technology hadn't dominated society like it has now. So, yeah, like it was tough to actually get a proper start. And then, so what I had to do was, I was in a B2B sales role for a reseller, a partner. They were awful. They did not support me. And then I actually got a lifeline from a friend to become a support specialist, an account support specialist for AEs inside Telstra Business and Enterprise. So I wasn't in a sales role anymore. I was in a support role, but I was in the best location that I could be to like learn the game of technology sales, learn how to B2B sales works, learn how technology actually works. And yeah, that was like a brutal 18 months to 2 years in that role,
okay.
actually learning through the fire hose, drowning in the fire hose of how all of this works and putting it together myself.
Wow. So that was like your kind of foundational kind of training boot camp ground to get into this whole tech sales, right? How did you get that job though? How was that a did you apply online? Did they was like a recommendation that you received? Was it like a buddy who introduced you to the hiring manager? How was that process?
Mate, it's the who you knows. It's the it's the network. So the first job to get an account specialist role was through a friend of a friend. So a guy that was also considering growing inside Telstra.
Okay.
He had a friend that was already working in the business side, and he was getting a promotion and was trying to find people to fill his old role.
Mm,
And the guy that his friend that he offered it to didn't want it, but then he pointed me in the direction of it. And I was like, sure, let me give this a crack, because I want to get out of where I'm going. And I completely suck at this and I hate it. So that's how I got in that role, through a friend of a friend, interviewed with the manager, got in. And actually, to be quite honest, all of my roles, all of the ways that I've got into businesses have been through connections of connections. So I got to Cisco because one of my close friends actually, again, had a vacancy. He got promoted. I was looking for, there was a role, his role was vacant for a while. And he's like, just, you apply for it. I'll vouch for you.
nice.
And yeah, like, to hack your way in per se, like is what you do best. Your network is your net worth. Having people that who you knows to get on the trusted network of people and get on the inside is so important. And if you can hack your way in through your personal network, or just knowing people, it's powerful. It's powerful than being just another face in the crowd amongst the thousands of faceless resumes that recruiters look at every day.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I try to tell people all the time. Would be fair to say that, especially in tech sales, I'll say maybe 80%. I don't know the percentage, but maybe 70 to 80% of the roles are filled by recommendation
Mm.
based on your personal experience. What do you think?
Um, Very possibly. I don't know what the actual numbers are around that,
Mm-hmm.
but social proof and advocacy are the most powerful tools that you have as a salesperson and your brand, right? This is all about brand. Um, through having someone advocate for you, they are putting their brand on the line to say your brand is good. When you are in the recruitment process of getting a job, that is you selling you and your brand to the hiring manager, and they're looking at you as based on your resume. They don't really know your character very well. That's why a referral is so important. That's why getting inside the trusted network of these people is so important, because it bypasses all the risk that these hiring managers have of saying, is this person going to
Mhm.
perform or not?
I
So
love.
yeah, I don't know the numbers, but it absolutely helps. Look, it's a huge plus to know someone and have a good brand.
Yeah, I love that, and I like the word they use, that risk. Uh, your biggest job trying to get into tech sales, trying to get a role, a job in tech sales, you have to de-risk that hiring manager. You know, probability of they're thinking like, oh, okay, I need to bring Dave or Jamel. They have to make money,
Hmm.
and are they going to be successful or not, right? So you have to de-risk that decision, right? The best way you can, and then having recommendations from other people vouching for you is
Mm.
definitely a de-risking kind of a strategy, and they can trust you better. I love that. The same happened to me, like getting to IBM. Actually, getting to IBM was just a hustle, the street, knocking and networking, all that. But
Hmm.
Microsoft recommendation. Um, now you know so much about sales, and I feel like, in fact, in this interview, I should probably dive in a little bit deeper into the actual tech sales role and all that.
Hmm.
Um, Once you are inside of a tech sales like Cisco, for example, like what can you do in order to progress your way, to the top, or how a career for a tech seller look like? Because I feel like it's still like you have to kind of reapply, even though if you're inside the organization, you have to reapply, you have to network.
Yep.
Do you have any tips and recommendations on that?
Look, I'll be honest, like, I'm not a big fan of the climbing up process because it gets very political, right? Again, it becomes about the who you know as your brands. You can be the best operator, but for political reasons, you might not get a job. I've been there a couple of times, right?
Mm.
But there is different facets of what it requires to climb the ladder. First of all, if you're just breaking in as an SDR or an SMB AE, then you need to be making sure that you are competent to begin with, and that means some solid sales numbers. I always recommend, like, your first portfolio as a salesperson should be a 2-year investment. Okay, and that's
Mm.
to get your fundamental systems and processes right and understand the game. And then the second year is to capitalize on the compounding effects of your efficient systems, understanding where the rest of your sales opportunities are over that 2-year period. Because most contracts are 3 years is often the industry standard in infrastructure and technology. For SaaS is different, but
Mm-hmm.
that investment in getting your process right, getting your confidence right in your own structure and systems, and you also need 2 good years of numbers, because we're in a numbers game, right? Sales is a performance in a numbers game. You need to be bringing money into the business. So if you don't, especially if you're starting out and you don't have those good numbers, then you're going to be overlooked for people that have that. And generally with hiring managers, it's like getting good numbers in your first year is great, but is that a fluke? We don't know. 2 years of consistent good numbers in the portfolio goes, it's not a fluke. Here is consistent delivery of capability and performance. And that creates more optionality to go into the next step of your career. The other facet of that is actually the skills that we talked about, right? Which is, do you actually understand what a sales process is? Do you understand what makes your product uniquely valuable, and you know how to sell that properly? Do you have good systems in place so you can build a structure and not burn out, because this is a high anxiety business. This is a high risk, high reward role that you're in, because you're dealing with potentially millions of dollars of custom and big customers as well that could be worth billions. So that's important. And then there is the political aspect of being in front of the right people, having a good internal brand inside the business that you're in, making sure that you're visible to the hiring managers and the senior leadership team, because we all know, mate, gossip, people talk. Your internal brand is just as important to your external brand, right? You have your personal brand with customers. It's extremely important to build a trusted personal brand with your customers, not a company brand. The personal brand of who you are and being an individual is extremely important to be really successful at technology sales. So people trust you as an individual. And then having that good internal brand inside the company, whether you're contributing to the company culture, you're talking to the right people inside the business to progress your career, people know of the cool things that you're doing. So those are your three key facets, and when it comes to progressing inside your business and developing your career, I think.
No, this is amazing. Like, because a lot of times, people might get lost, right? They might be like, okay, I have my SDR role here. What do I do? How do I
Mm.
become an AE? Or I'm an AE. What happens now? Like, so it's important to know those steps. So thanks for giving some insights on that. I You talked about a little bit about skills. Um, for someone who's outside, like an outsider, like considering to get into tech sales, right? To hack into tech sales,
Mm.
what kind of skills would you say like are the like if you have those, you'll be just fine. Like, or if you don't have those, don't even try it. Like you're gonna bomb it. Is there anything like that? Like, what comes to your mind? Like, first thing.
Yeah. So actually, the first thing that I say is traits over skills. Okay. If you don't have a defined skill set yet, your traits and personality are the leading indicators of your success. Because I believe, as a coach and as a mentor, you can teach skill. Okay. I can't teach you will. You need to be first and foremost willing to be coachable, to learn, to be adaptable, and discard these preconceived ideas of what you think it means to be great at sales, and actually be molded and shaped into an efficient selling machine. And that's me teaching and coaching you. So first of all, it's coachability and will, right? The will to succeed. You've got to be resilient as hell, because you are going to be facing into a lot of confusion, anxiety. You're going to be drowning in a lot of information, and you need to be able to keep calm and be able to understand and just be able to process and digest this stuff. You need to be able to deal with the pressure of the business, the pressure of not making your sales number, dealing with customers that you don't really understand properly but are trying to sell them stuff. So there's a lot of anxiety in this role. So if you're able to manage your anxiety, if you're highly resilient, that's a huge trait that I look for. I also look for people that love to help people, right? I am
Mm,
good at my job because I just like to help people. I call this a value statement. This is my philosophy on sales, is
mm,
I love to help people by solving their problems with technology. Okay. And
mm,
that is my life philosophy or my career philosophy and what I do, not just as a salesperson, but now in my business. And that's a really intentional statement, because there's nothing about sales. I love to help people, right? Irrespective of their title or who they are. I just like to help people. I like to solve a problem. All technology are tools to solve people problems. What are the problems we're solving? And technology is the mechanism that I do to do that. Okay, and that's my
mm,
expertise. So being customer focused, actually just enjoying helping customers and getting something out of being useful and helpful, loving to give advice, loving to be, supported and contribute irrespective of the outcome. That's a huge trait that will really differentiate you amongst other salespeople that don't have that and are looking at their customer as a bunch of dollar signs waiting to be grabbed, right? And that intention, that trait is a big differentiator, because we as people, we're all just people interacting with people. We can feel the difference in the vibe, right? We can feel the difference in the intention of how customers deal with us or how salespeople deal with us, whether they actually are there to be genuine and actually solve a problem, or are they playing that weird, can we swear in this podcast?
mm.
Weird, crappy way, weird, dodgy way. I won't swear.
Yeah.
This weird, dodgy way of trying to get something for you when they've got the sales breath, and you can feel that desire to just make money off you. So those are really important traits that I look for. And then when it comes to skills, You have to be a great conversationalist. You need to be a great talker. You need to have high emotional intelligence and be able to read people really well.
Hmm.
And then, you need to be interested in technology and business more holistically as well. Like have a bit of business acumen, be interested in how technology is shaping the future society. Because I can teach you a sales process, right? I can teach you a funnel. Your organization will teach you the technology. Those things can be learned in time. But the fundamental traits and skills of who you are way more important over the long run than having a medpic certification or something like that.
Mm. Wow, I love that. He said, do you no, that was an amazing summary, and you can totally see that you are in education because you have the right words to say and at the right time, and it's outside of being a good seller, right? But you have that structure, and you're a good teacher. So I it's like, for example, if you're a teacher, you probably most likely might be a good seller, right? Is there any profession out there that you feel like, man, like are most likely to be successful in sales, like if they're trying to transition from the world to the tech sales world?
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that. So I didn't remember this, but my mum told me this a little while ago that what I first wanted to do when I was a kid was
Yeah.
actually be a teacher and be an
Okay.
educator because I was very bookish as a kid. I was actually a gifted child when I was very young, and I was reading years ahead. I was academically years ahead of my colleagues, other students in primary school, or I don't know what you call it in the US, but like in early school. So I've always been bookish. I've always been interested in knowledge and wisdom and learning. So I definitely think being a good teacher and being able to explain and educate your customer is a great transitional skill because as a teacher, you're dealing with a bunch of people at once. You have to command presence and educate the people that you are dealing with, yeah, and sometimes they're children, right? And some executives, some organizations are definitely full of children, right? They're not all adults, as we know. And you create as a great salesperson creates value through education by informing the customer of how this solves the problem for them. So if you can articulate the problem solving process, how it does it for you, and explain and educate the customer through value, so you minimize, again, de-risk the idea of trying something new and different to solve their problems, then that's again going to put you way ahead of the rest of the market and all the other salespeople who aren't really explaining their solutions, their processes, their benefits well because they don't really understand it themselves, nor do they know how to communicate it to people. Right? Your average crappy AE is just talking about the latest gizmo and the latest product feature, not about the benefits, not about how it solves the problem. So
Yeah.
I think, like you said, teaching is a great transitional role. I think any good, really good customer service role, anyone that's really good, again, just really likes talking and helping people, is the best transition into sales.
Mm.
Because, yeah, I think that, again, that passion for helping is the underlying emotional tone and character that you want in a great salesperson. And, especially when, we think of the stereotype of a salesperson as not being caring and just out to get your dollar and just leaving you behind and taking your money, that, to be more conscious about the way we sell, to challenge the perceptions and have customers really connect with you, that genuine element of teaching, educating, helping resonates with customers at a deeper level than the function of the tech itself. And that's how you build that trusted personal connection with customers.
Yeah. Yeah, 100% right. I love the analogy of the teacher because if you think about it, teacher is not thinking about the outcome of the classroom or even that year of school. They think about like the future, right? How this kid's gonna turn out in the future. So it's thinking more like in a bigger scale and a bigger impact. And also the teacher is all about service. Like they're not there for the money necessarily. I know we tech sellers we like talk about the
Mm.
money. The money's there. We can't lie. But at the end of the day, it's about the client's needs and using that technology to solve that need.
Mm.
Really like that analogy of the teacher. I was gonna say something, I totally spaced it, forgot now, but that's really good. Now we'll come to a close here. This has been awesome, by the way. I dive a little bit more deep on the process of getting to the job, but I knew you had way more to share, so I wanted to dive more towards the actual, uh, the profile of a seller, right?
Hmm.
What do you think about the future of tech sales? I know there's a lot of people talking about tech sales. There's whole AI revolution. I feel like it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's more and more solutions coming, and there's a need of real sellers, more and more. The market's going to demand. What's your
Hmm.
take on that, and what do you see? The upcoming career.
Yeah, look, one of my biggest concerns for the future is the disruption of AI in jobs, right? Because we know that corporations are there to make money. You're supposed to maximize your profits by minimizing your costs, and humans are one of the highest cost bases and biggest liabilities in an organization. Full stop. Okay. However, I do think um, technology sales is one of the highest leverage things that you can be in this changing society, because we are close to the human experience, which is what AI is not very good at. There is humans, especially who are making high value decisions, still want that trusted personal relationship and feel emotionally safe in the decisions they make, and they're not going to get that from AI necessarily, because we still want organic connections. And you are creating value in the highest leverage industry on the planet now. We live in a technocracy, right? Society is determined by its ability to adapt to technology, right? Realistically, in society, it's basically the haves versus the have-nots. The haves have tools of scale like AI, and the have-nots are the people that are not adapting to AI. And that's the biggest separation now in society, which is a big problem. But so to be in technology sales is one of the best places that you can be. It's one of the and if you're a high performer, if you can pull in millions of dollars and you've got proven money coming in, like good sales numbers, then you're going to be increasingly valuable to organizations, because, like you said, it's getting easier to build and create new solutions, but it's getting harder to sell. So people that particularly the barrier to entry for technology sales was really low up until the pandemic, right? It was just whoever was crazy enough to put themselves through the fire hose of learning technology and learning a sales process, because there's no
Yeah.
fundamental education for what we do. So the barrier for entry was really low. Now, because we had the pandemic and people and a lot of tech organizations just hired en masse to meet demand, they had a lot of average salespeople, not people that can't actually sell. So they've learned from that, and they've gone, okay, we need X amount of minimum standard or numbers to be in this business. And because people have realized that tech is it, and there's a lot more entry in the market, so it's a hiring market right now. It's a company market. But if you've got the skill set, if you've got the capabilities, you will make way more money compared to other people that are average now. Because if you can meet those standards and exceed those standards, you're going to be in demand. If you've got high quality numbers, you get a few years in corporate, and you make good money there, and you have a good brand behind you, and then you can potentially scale that out into becoming a frontier AE. So you become an AE in a startup, which has a lot more equity and a lot more earning potential through shares and growing the business and growing along with them. Or you can do what I'm doing and you start founding your own business, because it's essentially the same process, just with a product that you are more passionate about, or something that's uniquely yours. It's the same foundations: a good, solid personal brand, a solid sales process, caring about the customer, a product that you care about. So if you've got all of that, really all you really need to do is just build the infrastructure and the product that you want to sell, whether it's yourself, coaching, whatever it might be. So this is, again, one of the best places you could be in technology, in society, for a career option. Look, it's getting tougher to get in because, high risk, high reward. But for the right people, dude, it's one of the safest places to be, honestly. It really is.
Awesome. I love it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing tech sales funnels, because I understand it's almost a funnel, and
Mm,
it's really hard to hack into, especially on the big ones, the Cisco's, the Microsofts, the IBMs. And but
yeah.
it's if you're good, you're gonna be able to differentiate yourself. I totally agree. Now, to for closing, as an educator, as a teacher, as someone who's basically creating a university online, an academy for tech sellers, I have my opinions. I want to hear yours. Why the current educational system, it's missing the boat here. Like, I just can't understand how universities or schools are not preparing the next professionals, the sales professionals, because there's a lot of digital selling, and there's all those things that you have to be able to do.
Mhm.
People not just learning, like, as a closing, and you can talk about what you do a little bit more. Let's hear your opinion on that. Why is society missing the boat here?
Yeah. So, dude, like one of my most daunting and real philosophies or sayings in life is yesterday's systems do not enable tomorrow's abundant future. Our school systems, our current systems are not built to adapt to the future ahead of us. And school does not even teach us the great fundamental skills we need to become great people. It teaches us to be conservative, quiet employees, right? To just, to be ready for the American or the Australian dream, which was, it's going away now. It's gone, right? Is to just get a steady job, pay your taxes, get a bit of land, live a middle of the road but comfortable life, and retire. But realistically, that model is only not even 100 years old. So this American dream has been very short lived. And realistically, our old systems, the government school systems, they're run by bureaucracies that are very slow to adapt. And so the speed of technology, almost nobody is adapting to the speed of technology and what it can do. And whoever can has the most arbitrage in society right now. So realistically, what I do with my business is I teach the actual skills you should have been taught, not even
Mm,
by tech organizations, right? To be a successful salesperson by from years of experience, being passionate about coaching and personal development. And I've built that curriculum out. And that's what Tech Sales Academy is. It's everything you need to be a fantastic, non-technical people person in tech, just like myself. No IT background, no B2B background, no account management background. Here is the PhD. Here is the complete skill set that you need to become an elite AE. Proven in the field, proven virtually. That's what I've done. More broadly, my future vision is not just to stay in technology sales, but all the life skills that we need to be great human beings,
mm,
a
love
healthy,
it,
integrated life, right?
love it.
So, what people don't understand, what are the basics of nutrition, sleep, exercise? How do we keep our physical shape? What does actual peak human physical shape look like? And I've done this myself. I've lost over 20 kilos. I used to be obese. I used to be, I used to have depression, used to be very overweight. What are the mental skills that we should have, like emotional self-regulation and intelligence? Even now, what are the financial skills that we should be learning to actually survive and not be victim to the world around us and actually be able to survive this crazy new world we live in? So people like myself, entrepreneurs, skillpreneurs, people like that, educators, we are, as independents, we are filling that market gap. And it's going to get real big over the next few years as people realize, like, oh crap, I'm not ready for this world. I'm not built for this world. And even myself as a technology sales professional, I don't feel ready for this world. And I'm trying to reskill myself and keep updating myself. So that's my philosophy around it. We are not taught the fundamental skills to be successful in life, and it's up to people like us to actually fill that market gap based on our proven experience and passing it on to the next generation. And that's what we do.
I love it. Oh, Jamel, you're the man. Like, you did well in sales. You're giving back now, teaching other people how to do it. But that's just a stepstone. I can see your big vision of life academy, basically, right?
Mm,
And teaching people how to live life, and that's amazing. I'm with you, man. I'm dreaming big like that as well. And the name of my vision is to do good global solutions, which is actually the name of my business.
mhm,
which is, you know, we have to be ready in all sorts of life in order to do good, right?
Yeah, man.
And I get it. I think we tech sales is the place, everyone, to launch your dreams. Be tech sales. I thank so much, Jamel. That was an amazing. I think was again one of the best podcasts so far here on the profile, like how a tech sale looks like, and uh, and how to be successful in tech sales. And you dropped the bomb here. So thank you so much for
Man,
making the time.
glad to
Uh,
be here, man. Thanks for the time.
People find you on LinkedIn, right? Just connect
Yeah,
with you.
yeah. So linkedin.com/Jameel Rehman, JAMEELREHMAN. And then if you want to check out what I'm doing with Tech Sales Academy, school.com, SKLL.com/Tech Sales Academy, or check out the website techsales.academy. You can find me there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone. That's it for today. Thanks so much, Jamel.
Thanks,
Have a
brother.
good one.
Appreciate your time.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tech Sales Funnels podcast, where we crack the code and uncover the strategies to break into tech sales. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's ready to hack their way into this exciting career. Remember, hacking into tech sales isn't just a goal, it's a mission. Let's keep hacking, learning, and winning together. Catch you next time.